Welcome everybody, Shir number 954. We're learning today Le'ilei Nishmas Moshe Dov ben Rebaran Zizel, Le'ilei Nishmas Blima Basra Moshe, and L'Refuah Shalema Yisrael ben Rachel Leishtak, ever Refuah Shalema B'Soich Shachal Yisrael. Getting back to our malacha of MAKEH B'PATIsh and Tikkun Mana. Okay, we are trying to finish off our last Gezerah Midrabanan, rabbinical decree in reference to MAKEH B'PATIsh and Tikkun Mana, and that is folding garments, linens, paper, and so on. Okay. So we spoke about the TALIS. We tried to stress a little bit the TALIS issue last shir, and so we established the fact, just to chazar over real quickly. Preferably, what one should do is just to fold it, preferably backwards, and after Shabbos, fold it up the right way. Those who do it on the line, yeshal milismach. Okay, now the question is, interesting question. What about opening it up? It's an interesting question. Let's say, good. So I understand. Good. I'm not supposed to fold my talis on the lines. It's ke'ein tikkun mana. It looks like tikkun mana. What about when I open it up? Good. So after Shabbos, in other words, Motzi Shabbos, I'll go and I'll take my talis that's folded backwards. Now I fold it on the lines and sharp, and I fold it the way it should be. And it's a beautiful thing. We said it's a mitzvah, the maril, shalom bayis, the skula. Okay, but now comes Shabbos, right? Now comes the next Shabbos. A person opens up the talis. What about opening it up? You're now releasing it from being folded on the lines. As we know, there's an isser of boina, of building, but there's an isser of MAKEH B'PATIsh. We know that there's an isser of tikkun mana. And the opposite, we say in general, we say is soiser, destroying, right? The opposite of boina, the opposite of MAKEH B'PATIsh, sort of MAKEH B'PATIsh. The opposite is destroying, destruction. So is there a problem with opening up a talis? In other words, it's folded sharply on the lines from last week, Motzei Shabbos. Now on Shabbos I open it up. Is there a problem for releasing the lines, or any type of clothing? I take out clothing that's folded sharply on the lines, and now I want to wear it, right? Let's say on Shabbos. So is there a problem from unfolding the clothing? Do we say that that's a problem of soiser? So of destroying. So says the very interesting concept I just wanted to go through for a minute. The Sefer Piskei Teshuvos brings it down on page Ayin in Siman Shin Beis, Ois number 108. He says ki ein soiser. He's talking about whatever the paper issue, which we have to get to. But he says ki ein soiser, ki ein iser soiser. There's no iser of destruction soiser ella bedavar sheyesh ba'asiyasai mishum tikkun mana mamish. Unless it's a real tikkun mana, unless it's a real somebody who did an act of really boina, building, or tikkun mana, or fixing something. Now you undo that fixing, right? Something that was fixed on Shabbos, let's say a closet or whatever. So now you undo that. So good, that's soiser. Mashe'en kemen nidan didan when it comes to our type of inyan einay ela mishum mechzei kemisakin mana. By us, it only looks like tikkun mana, right? All these inyanim we're talking about, all these the clothing and the talis and the folding, all these inyanim. Worst case scenario, it's mechzei tikkun mana. It looks like tikkun mana. It looks like what it's fixing. So thereby we said don't do it. So in those cases, he says soiser would not apply. The isser of destruction would not apply. So therefore, one could go ahead and open up clothing that was folded on the line. And he says further, again in conjunction with the paper, which we'll talk about, but he says, just like there's no isser of opening up, and to use clothing, that were folded from Erev Shabbos, even on the line, there's no Israel for opening it up. So he wants to say the same thing by paper, which we'll see. But the bottom line is, be it as it may, we see opening these things are not the problem. The problem is folding it on the lines, but opening it up, talis or clothing, whatever it is not a problem. Okay, so now the question is, what about, how does all this apply to paper? Right? Am I allowed to fold paper? Is there a problem with folding paper? Okay, so in general, we've spoken about in the past that there are certain times that folding paper is not so much a question of that it looks like tikkun mana or boina, but it taka is a isra of either MAKEH B'PATIsh or boina. We spoke about sometimes you have these foldable boxes that you put together like a pizza box or a cake box, these type of things, and it comes with the lines ready to fold, and you just fold up the top and the bottom. It comes as a flat piece of cardboard, and you fold it up. You bend the sides and you bend the top, and you have now a usable box. Sometimes it's a cake box, a pizza box. I don't think too many people are going to be using on Shabbos, but you have a cake box and so on. and you have a usable box, so that's taka running into a problem of making a kli on Shabbos, which would be falling under the issur of boina, or boina building, or MAKEH B'PATISH, either one, or tekemana, depending on how it's done. But then there's another type of problem that comes up sometimes. It brings down as a Piskei Tshuva. We spoke about also in reference to making various different type of designs, right? Out of paper, I can make pictures of a bird. I can make pictures of a plane, not the drawing part, but actually the folding. I fold in a certain way where I make a plane, where I make a bird, where I make these type of things. So that one has to be careful also on Shabbos. In general, it could be a problem of kosev, writing, making a form. Certain times you make a form, like somebody carves out certain things, let's say with ice cream and so on, that's running into a problem of kosev writing on Shabbos. And this type of thing also could be the kosev, it could be possibly also boina, building, MAKEH B'PATISH, not so much, but possibly it could be also. So those type of making actual forms, like we said, birds and these type of things, when it's something that's recognizable, is running into a problem and possibly other malachas. But just folding over a paper in general, let's have a napkin, right? Just to fold a napkin. I want to put out napkins. I have a kiddush, I'm making a lunch, whatever. I'm having a suda, I want to just fold over the napkin. Or I have possibly even a cloth. Sometimes you have cloths, a cloth napkin or a paper napkin, and I just want to fold it over once or twice, and that's it. Just put it over there, where on top of that, I'm going to put I'll put the fork and I'll put the knife on top of that. I'll put the settings. I'm just folding over the paper. Is that any problem with making that fold? The bottom line is I'm making a fold. I'm making a sharp fold, right? I'll fold the napkin, the paper napkin sharply, and then I put something on top of it, and it's staying like that. So B'kitzur to make a long story short, in general, they bring down the poskim that this is not a problem. This is just a simple throwaway type of an item. It's not going to last at all. The person is just folded over once, and then it's basically garbage after the person's done. They're throwing it out. It's not going to last more than 2 hours, the whole thing, and there's no kiyum. The whole issur, the whole problem whereby we're talking about it looks like tikkamana, and it's possible, makes it stronger, sharper, is where you have some sort of a kiyum, some sort of a, it's going to stay for a while. It's going to be established for a while, right? Like in the TALIS and so on, or the clothing. But when you have like just a paper where it's for just 2 hours, you're folding it over and then it's going right in the garbage, there's no kiyum. And over there, in general, the poskim say for Yisrael Halachas brings it down, the Piskei Tshuvas in general, the poskim say that is not a problem of folding something on the line. Now, there is another thing which we're not going to get into right now. We've spoken about in the past in reference to folding in a sefer, in a book, the end of the page. That's a little bit of a different. There are certain isurim over there, taka, in reference to making a roshim and so on. Somebody takes their finger and they draw a line in the in the paper, or they'll bend over the top. That we're not going to get into that right now. That is under the isurim of taka kosev and making a roshim. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a napkin. They take a napkin and they fold it over, even if it's on a line, a paper napkin or whatever it is, and they put a setting on that is b'chalal, no problem. There's no kiyum, and it's going to go in the garbage in a few hours anyways, and that is perfectly fine. It's only over there whereby somebody makes, like we said, these type of pictures and whatever it is out of it by folding it this way, that way, and it becomes a fancy thing and so on. That one should be careful not to do on Shabbos. Thank you for listening. Atzlach and bracha kol tov.